And we can put the website up there for you. If you want to go, if you want more information about Scientology, clambake.org is a good place to start. Now it's an anti-Scientology site, but the actual Scientology sites don't really tell you much. They're more of a lure you in and get you started thing. And also, to be fair, I'm not saying that there's nothing good or beneficial out of Scientology, just as if, meditation. I mean, certain things that you can do can be good. Most of this is about the practices of the Church of Scientology and how they choose to operate and treat their members and earn their money.
While we're throwing out websites, I should mention that the Skeptics Dictionary also has a very good article on Scientology. That's skeptic.com.
Yep. That's a really good site for a lot of things. So this pamphlet from Clambake kind of summarizes what Scientologists believe, and they put it in a neat little story. But the facts in here are accurate, and they've even included a little snippet of something written in L. Ron Hubbard's actual handwriting. But the story goes that once upon a time, about 75 million years ago, there was an alien galactic ruler named Xenu. Xenu was in charge of all the planets in this particular part of the galaxy, including our own planet, Earth, which in those days was called Tigiak. Now, Xenu had a problem. All the 76 planets he controlled were all overpopulated. Each planet had an average population of 178 billion people, and he wanted to get rid of this excess population, so he formulated a plan. With the help of renegades, Xenu took complete control and defeated the good people and the loyal officers. And with the help of psychiatrists, he called in billions of people for income tax inspections, but they were instead given injections of a paralyzing mixture of alcohol and glycol. They were then put into space planes that looked exactly like DC-8s, except that they had rocket motors instead of propellers.
Income tax inspections by psychiatrists?
I didn't write this. Those DC-8 space planes flew to Earth, where the paralyzed people, numbering in the hundreds of billions, were stacked around the bases of volcanoes. When everyone had been piled on Tigiak, which is Earth's old name, H-bombs were lowered into the volcanoes. Xenu then detonated all the H-bombs and everyone was killed. The story doesn't end there, though. Since everyone has a soul, called a thetan in this story, Xenu had to trick the souls into not coming back, because Scientologists believe in reincarnation. So while the hundreds of billions of souls were being blown around by the nuclear winds, he had special traps constructed that caught the souls in electronic beams, like sticky flypaper. After he captured the souls, he had them packed into boxes and taken to huge cinemas. There the souls spent days watching special 3D motion pictures that told them lies about what life should be like here. And these films confused them and tricked them into believing things that were not true. As a side note, they're called, the Scientologists refer to them as engrams. And L. Ron Hubbard stated that Christianity and other religions are actually engrams, or lies, that our souls are fed in this cinema between reincarnations. They were shown false pictures and told false things, including stories about Christianity, Judaism, Islam, and other religions. The process is called implanting. When the films ended and the souls left the cinema, they began to stick together in groups. They had all seen the same film and thought they were the same person. So they clustered in numbers of a few thousand. There were only a few living bodies left, so they stayed in clusters and inhabited those bodies, who are our ancestors. As for Xenu, the loyal officers finally overthrew him and locked him away in the mountain on one of the planets. He's kept there by a force field, powered by an electric battery, still alive today, 75 million years later. And so today, everyone, according to Scientologists, is full of these little clusters of souls called body thetans. And in order for us to be a free soul, we must remove all of our body thetans and pay enormous sums of money to do so. And the only reason people believe in God, Christ, Muhammad, Satan, or anything is because it was filmed, or it was a film that was shown to their body thetans 75 million years ago.
Didn't you just say he was a science fiction author?
Yes.
Douglas Adams wrote more plausible stuff than that.
I thought, yeah. I don't know, in his original handwriting, which is kind of hard to read and very brief, that entire story, which Scientologists seem to have built on, comes down to the head of the Galactic Confederation, 76 planets around larger stars visible from here 95 million years ago. Very space opera. Solved overpopulation by mass implanting. He caused people to be brought to Tigiak, Earth, and put an H-bomb on the principal volcanoes. I don't know, that's the first page in L. Ron Hubbard's own words.
Maybe Battlefield Earth was actually, you know, one of those evil movies that they screened to fill you with bad information.
It could be because, well, that was John Travolta's tribute to L. Ron Hubbard.
After seeing, I mean, I haven't seen Battlefield Earth, but I would imagine that a lot of people who saw Battlefield Earth came away with the conclusion that L. Ron Hubbard is a moron, and that, of course, we know must be a lie. So
yeah. So that's the story that you learn at OT3, which is after spending quite a bit of money and progressing. A lot of Scientologists never even get to that level. It's either too expensive or too time-consuming, and they keep them in this rotation of clearing their reactive mind and being tested by an e-meter. But the whole purpose of the OT4 through OT8 levels is to get rid of these little clusters of body thetans, which are latched onto you, and so that they can be free. And this plan of Xenu's to use psychiatrists to call people in, I thought it was kind of interesting that the space planes looked exactly like DC-8s, which were the height of technology in the 50s when this revelation came to L. Ron Hubbard. Well, I'll give him credit for putting, you know, rocket motors on them instead of propellers. He at least recognized the flaw in trying to travel through space with propellers.
That would be like 17 years before we got a rocket up to the moon.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So of course, L. Ron Hubbard didn't know about actual rocket ships, so neither could the aliens, right?
So some people wonder, well, you know, how could people believe this? And part of it is that they're fed a lot of lies about who L. Ron Hubbard was. In Scientology, he's extremely revered, and there's a lot of misinformation about his life and his history. And you know, he was this famous war hero when actually he served 3 years in the Navy and never saw combat. And they build him up, and they, you know, pretty much tell people what they need to hear in order to continue. Tom Cruise talked about psychiatry and Ritalin. They do not approve of the use of drugs to treat diseases or symptoms. Everything is a result of body thetans and engrams that you need to clear using your e-meter and answering a bunch of questions. The really scary thing about this is that it can be very, very dangerous. And in 1995, a woman named Lisa McPherson got into a car accident. She wasn't seriously hurt, but she got out of the car and stripped off her clothes and began kind of ranting incoherently. And they took her to the hospital, found out that she wasn't physically injured, but they wanted to hold her for psychiatric observation. The Church of Scientology came and picked her up and said, no, she's a Scientologist, she doesn't believe in that, we're going to take her back with us. They took her back, and the details are sketchy as to what actually happened, but they held her for 18 days, and 18 days later she ended up back at the hospital, dead on arrival, 30 pounds lighter, covered in bruises and bug bites. What actually happened while she was there, we're not really sure, and while criminal charges were filed, they were later dismissed for lack of evidence. But I think it's kind of clear that the woman had some mental issues, and their treatment clearly didn't work for her. And it doesn't stop there either. In 2003, there's a guy by the name of Jeremy Perkins, whose mother was into Scientology. He was actually sent to Los Angeles to go through the initial training levels, and was scheduled to leave with the Sea Org, which is a group of elite Scientologists that operate completely off of ships traveling the world. They're kind of that's where L. Ron Hubbard lived while he was alive in Scientology. He was the Commodore of this fleet.